So when Notch sold Minecraft, did he sell Mojang with it, or is he still with Mojang?
He didn't. He sold Mojang.
He did?
Yeah.
That's okay. Then that's good. That's good for Mojang. That's good for just about everyone involved, really.
Anything's better to get away from Notch.
Yeah, he disappeared down the crazy hole. Alongside Graham Linehan, who got recently banned from Twitter, and there was much rejoicing.
Yes, thank fuck. Jesus.
Where am I gonna get all my Twitter drama from now?
Well, you could just follow J.K. Rowling.
Oh, yes, that's right! That also happened in the news this week. There's the announcement of a new Harry Potter game, and one of the selling points is the complete absence of J.K. Rowling in the production. She is not involved in the creative process whatsoever, and that's a selling point now, so that's cool.
Wow. Yeah, I'm looking at the news and finding nothing that generally piqued my interest. I've got a intense amount of weekly filler to inject our show with, but...
Oh, you're availing of the break class in case of emergency content?
No, not even. This is actually my first week departing from having something pre-scripted to some degree. This week will be just sheer bulk of experience that I'm going to rhyme off the top of my head because it's been a bit of a trip. But what say we start with follow-up?
I'll be honest, whilst I was listening to last week's podcast, I couldn't really think of any follow-up that I could really follow up on. So I'm follow-up free, actually. How about you?
This is exactly why I wanted to bring up follow-up, because I'm fairly certain we got nothing to really continue.
That's a bad sign going on. I mean, Hello Internet, by episode 3, they were already coming down in follow-up, so much so that it was
Hello Internet had, in each episode, a think piece, and an already established audience to backlash against each think piece. We have current affairs and our gaming experiences, and a very, very, very small audience of people interested to hear them. In terms of follow-up, the only thing I can think of for me that is even remotely interesting is the homework. But my homework ties in with everything I'm going to talk about this week, so we can save it for that segment. So while we're here in a deluge of uninteresting content, why don't we skip ahead to news? This was maybe the slowest news week in our 4-week tenure, and I think we should just get it over with.
Get it over with. I like that energy.
So, any news jump out to you?
Well, first of all, I need to start this right. I listened to that electro jazz orchestra album that you sent me during the week.
The Milkfeg?
Yep, I did, and that shit slaps. It's fucking great. And on that note, dun 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 dun, the news.
Oh, that's good.
So, news. There is you've compiled a
a brief list.
Yes. Well, there's one missing from here that I think is noteworthy, and that's Amazon Studios has licensed the rights to a Fallout television series.
Yeah, right. Oh, wow, jeez. I really did miss this. It's not that I remember hearing it, and it's not that I didn't think it was newsworthy. I just, I heard, a conversation happening on Twitter about people being, excited for a Fallout TV show, and I was like, excited? Why, exactly?
If excited is even the right word to describe it.
But yeah, I mean, woo! Fallout! TV show.
Mm-hmm. It's been masterminded by the people behind Westworld.
Yes.
Which is a show that is half great, and then the second season, I understand, shits the bed a wee bit, and it's been slowly clawing its way back, reputation-wise, ever since.
Jesus Christ. I've only ever heard good things about Westworld. I've never seen it myself. It did give me some hope to hear that there was actual professionals handling it, and it's not like the Resident Evil team that are handling the Monster Hunter movie.
Yes. Have you seen the screenshots coming out?
Oh, yeah.
The promotional images? No monsters just yet. And I can appreciate, them playing coy, but I suspect that's not what's happening.
Given that the news this week was that it's been delayed to sometime in 2021, it might just be that they originally had a schedule to actually CG in those monsters, and they have yet to get that patched in so far. So really, they only have footage of and stills of Mila Jovovich around some rocks.
I'm not sure how I feel about the partnership between Mila Jovovich and the directors of those movies, because they're married, right?
Yeah, what's his name? Paul. He's
Paul Anderson.
He's the other Paul
There's Paul Anderson, Paul W.S. Anderson, and Wes Anderson, and Wes Craven. I'm always getting the four confused.
So which one is this dude? Is he Paul W.S.? Yes, he's Paul W.S. Anderson.
He just wants to make movies that he can put his wife in and make her do cool things. And I'm still not sure how they feel about this, whether it's a shocking and flagrant display of nepotism, or if it's just, it's like a cool family thing that they like to do, and that's kind of neat.
Yeah.
I guess I would feel a lot more sympathetic towards it if they weren't dog shit movies.
Exactly. Anyway, fucking Fallout. What's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, Fallout, it's come out at a very funny time in our lives, hasn't it, Fallout? After Fallout 4 did markedly worse than New Vegas, it performed not quite as well. And then Fallout 76, of which there are, hours and hours of breakdowns that you can watch. My favorite one is by Internet Historian about where and how that game went wrong. It's a saga. In any case, you can rest assured that this Fallout series will be the pinnacle of quality, because attached as executive producer from Bethesda Game Studios is one Todd Howard. So
no way.
It's gonna be good. Todd Howard. What is there to say about Todd Howard? I don't know enough about him personally to know whether or not the amount of flack he gets is deserved or not. But it is very fun.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost, I feel we're kind of both in the same position where we're semi-outsiders looking in. I don't particularly think you're big into Fallout. I'm certainly not that big into Fallout. I enjoyed New Vegas, to be fair. I haven't played the original 2 by Obsidian.
Well, yes, that's because New Vegas was made by Obsidian, which is the makers of Pillars of Eternity, the good ones.
Yeah.
The ones made by the Bethesda is the ones that you haven't played, that is 3 and 4.
Yeah, I played...
And 76, of course.
I played a bit of 3, I had no interest in it. I played a good bit of New Vegas. I never beat it, or the story of it. But it was a fun game, I just lost interest. I think I had one of the traditional Fallout New Vegas experience where my game crashed one day, and I, on trying to boot it up, asked myself, was I really that invested? What I like about Fallout and what I like about the prospect of a TV show is that the initial setup of every Fallout game, which is always the same, is always a pretty good setup. It's a good hook. The bunkered civilization, nuclear fallout, come back up, world's gone to shit. That's a good premise for a TV show, I think. And I think if they really go full log into the character side of things, and they really try and up the sort of zaniness of the world on the overland, it could be quite entertaining. Is it probably gonna be twisty, dramatic, and maybe a little too rote? I would imagine so. But I think that the concept isn't inherently flawed. I mean, I would rather watch a Fallout than play another Fallout. So I mean, it's a good move for people who have checked out of the series, I guess.
Of which I'm sure there are many by this point.
Yeah, I mean, I've had Fallout 4 sitting up. My brother Shane, my brother.
Oh, we're doing it for the entire family.
Just every family member. He got Fallout 4. He was a big fan of Fallout 3. So he got Fallout 4 and played it for an hour and realized he just wasn't that interested. And since then, he sold his PS4, and this box has been sitting on my shelf for years and years now, and I have never, even on the rainiest of rainy days, I have never once thought, today's the day, Fallout 4.
Oh, poor Todd Howard. I can't imagine that it's good for your brand that simply saying your name is enough for me to suppress a giggle and have a cheeky smirk on my face.
I feel like my favorite mentions of Todd Howard are on, you ever watch Pre-Game Discharge?
I have not.
It's really good YouTube weekly roundup. In fact, so good a weekly roundup and so concise that, I mean, it would absolutely destroy our viewership for people to find out it exists.
We can cut that out in post. Don't worry about it.
Mercifully, your guy, Lyle, takes months off at a time in the production of it. So, I mean, we're all right. We're okay. As long as we keep up a weekly click, we can never, ever lose viewership. We'll never lose ground. It's a really good show, very concise, always really funny, and he just, every time he brings up Todd, he basically screams his name.
Todd. Oh, Todd.
And every time I hear his name now, I always think, Todd! I just want to talk, Todd!
I remember the days when, depending on whether or not Bethesda was doing well or up to no good, we would call him Todd Coward or God Howard, halcyon days of a more innocent time.
It was a more innocent time.
Unfortunately, it's all turtles on the way down. It's all shit.
You'll win them back. Elder Scrolls 6, baby. He's got 4 years of hype on that before it releases.
I'm really nervous about the new Elder Scrolls because I want to hope that they've learned their lesson, but their recent behavior has indicated that they have not.
No.
And Elder Scrolls is the one I give a shit about, which means it matters. Let Fallout be the sacrificial lamb upon which the Elder Scrolls will grow ever stronger. Do you remember when that was released? And, the announcement for the new Elder Scrolls game was released.
The Bethesda E3 from like 3 years ago?
Yep, and all that they had to show was footage, roaming footage of a field and a mountain, and that was it.
Yeah, woo!
And that's all that we've seen of it since.
That and loads of news articles saying, no, you're not going to see Elder Scrolls this year, get off Arceus. It's been a good cycle, it's been a good news cycle. Well, since we're still on TV, we can talk about the Sims and their continued bleeding over into reality.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw in the trailer for this one. You showed it to me. You went out of your way to tweet about it.
I just feel like I kind of went out on a real limb on episode 1 about turning the message, what was supposed to be the wholesome messaging of that E3 presser with The Sims, into a sort of terrifying mission statement.
Indictment.
Yeah. And but I was happy to leave it there, and allow them to continue to dole out the DLC for Sims 4 and let it continue its perpetual money cashing in or whatever. I don't know. I assume it makes business.
No, they've only spiraled further downwards into depravity.
You say that? No, this is the next step. This is fully the next step in the battle plan, where now they're going to attempt to draw the line between reality and sim world by having people meld real life emotional stories onto a competition of Sims that they design.
I've seen crocodile tears and forced drama stretched to its limit in game shows before, but I felt like this was the one where, like, I posted a Rich Evans GIF or a Rich Evans JPEG reaction image in response, but just the entire time I was watching that trailer, it was just utterly expressionless. Just the absence of emotion, a complete failure to invoke anything in me whatsoever other than emptiness.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what it reminds me of? Did you ever see...
Other than a mild sense of cynicism and disgust, but that's about it. Anyway, what were you saying?
It reminds me of... do you remember the old...
The Tester?
The Tester, yeah, you got it.
I was just about to bring that up because the Tester was the closest point of comparison that I could think of. In that probably the high point of that series was that Egoraptor was on it, and that's about all that they had going for them. And they had the fucking gall to accuse him on camera as using his presence on that show as purely a means of increasing, like, his, internet profile.
Not just that, he was going to use his already established profile to lobby support for the Tester.
Yeah, well, that's actually what was happening. That show benefited from his presence, and they were accusing him of the opposite.
Exactly.
It's like, you only came on the show to, hype up your...
leech viewership from the Tester.
From the Tester.
Oh, God.
I can't believe I actually watched that show. That was the... He joined on, the second season? I watched, the first season.
Oh, my God.
I remember them there was an episode where they were making them run like an obstacle course. I'm like, what's this got to do with testing games? Or like they had Nolan North on.
That's right.
And it's like, this was at the height of Nolan North voices every single character in video games in the industry at this time. And everyone was like, oh my god, it's Nolan North, it's such a big deal. It's like, Jesus, it's the most... Like, it's E3, the first 10 rows in the crowd, utter psychopaths. That's what it is. It's gross.
Yeah, sycophants. Yeah, so, I mean, that's what The Sims sparked, which, by the way, is what this show is called. I assume is what it's going for.
I think it's telling that we've had very little to say about the actual Sims sparked TV show.
What more do people want? This looks fucking terrible. It's all the forced drama of like reality TV show stretched onto a premise. Yeah, exactly. Stretched onto a premise that can't even support that. You're literally like, this is the feelings I would feel if any of this were real. But it's not. I'm dredging it up for a competition.
I suppose we should probably clarify on what this show actually is, because, we wouldn't want to make people look it up and be subject to what we've already been subjected to.
Yeah.
I mean, other than the fact that it's, like, grossly drama stretched to, like, nothing. It's a game show, or I should say a reality TV competition.
Sort of like The Bachelor, but for The Sims.
It's not entirely clear exactly what it is that they're doing, but they're creating a Sims household where they put the teams as Sims into the game, and then they use that to, I don't know, create emergent gameplay or something to that effect, and then use it to tell stories and complete challenges. And then, there's always the bit where, like, somebody starts crying, the crocodile tears, there's chopping onions at one point. The guy's like, what is it, like, his dad passed away, so he put his dad in The Sims or something? It's just,
That's something I really didn't want to laugh too hard at. I mean, that's obviously a terrible thing, but Jesus Christ. There's no bottom here. There's no floor to this well.
I feel like I was developing dissociative disorder just by watching this trailer. Mm-hmm. Like, I could feel, like, my spirit leaving my body. I wasn't, like, just a complete blank expression, utterly gormless, just...
Wait, you see, this is where the thing... I had the opposite reaction, because I was so excited, just because it tied back into the threat that The Sims made just weeks earlier. That they were going to steeple, they're going to morph into our own reality. And here they are.
In some kind of nightmarish the Black Mirror future is now, Lee. Yeah. It's on its way.
Now, not only that, not only are they going to replace humanity with Sims, but they're asking us to be complicit in it. They want us to craft.
Yeah, we have to be entertained by it in the meantime.
They want us to craft the way that they do it, the story. They want us to teach the Sims how to feel so that they more seamlessly integrate with society. I love it. I was about to say I'll never watch this show, but I kind of might. It's the deepest level of schadenfreude, though. And it would purely be for content of the podcast.
I feel like if I've ever been feeling too emotional or too invested in a story, I will watch this show so I could be returned to a state of blissful neutrality.
yeah.
Once more.
The nullness. Watch nullness wash over you. Yeah, here's semi-news. Warner Brothers Interactive are going to get bought out by Microsoft, or on the verge of being bought out by Microsoft.
I'm surprised to hear that. I would have thought that a company with the muscle of Warner Brothers behind it would be immune to that sort of thing.
I think it's not so much Warner Brothers, like, obviously Warner Brothers will continue to thrive in its way. I think they're pulling a Disney, and the parent company is getting the fuck out of games. So apparently the discussions are that Warner Brothers Interactive are up for sale, and top bidder so far seems to be Microsoft. That proves to be an interesting and probably good thing for probably everyone, really, except Sony console owners.
I'm surprised that Warner Brothers is getting out of the game. especially considering how lucrative games are these days. And they did do well with the Arkham series, despite the usual shenanigans.
They did shit the bed with Mordor.
That's true. They did.
And if the backlash to that must be pretty fucking bad for such a high-profile investment on their behalf that they maybe just want to cut all ties.
I don't know. That doesn't seem feasible to me, or it doesn't seem like something they would do from like a purely pragmatic capitalistic.
Well, here's what I think is probably the case: is that Mordor didn't do very well sales wise, and it was banking on making a lot of money from microtransactions. And it turns out there's no real system for AAA games that are just single player experiences that Warner Brothers Interactive have been making to cash in seamlessly on the microtransaction bint. So Warner Brothers were starting to look at to weigh it up, and after what was almost assuredly a general financial failure with Shadow of War, they're probably weighing up. And also Mad Max wasn't too hot. They're probably weighing things up and going. And also Batman Arkham Knight wasn't too hot. They're probably weighing things up and going, you know what, it's time to... We're not making the cash dollar that a film company tends to make off this. There's a lot of investment down that takes years to pay off, and the one hot trend that's making all the money in the world right now doesn't work for the games we're making with this studio.
Too much pushback. Well, I suppose there is one other bit of gaming news that I can think of, at least, that happened this week.
Alright.
Deadly Premonition 2 came out, baby.
Yeah, that's right. Switch exclusive Deadly Premonition 2.
Sub 20 frames per second Deadly Premonition. We're talking single digits.
Yeah, I seen Jim Starling play a bit of it.
A lot of people are complaining about this, but this is exactly what I expected and indeed had been looking forward to.
Well, apparently the developers have said that they have retracted their prior statement that said we're done with Deadly Premonition 2 and have seemingly threatened to fix the frame rate.
That's a good way to phrase it. They threatened to fix the frame rate. No, please don't!
But it's what we're here for. We're swimming through the mud. That's what you designed it for, right? But apparently, maybe one step too far was having a frame rate of 20 for half of Deadly Premonition's willing audience. I don't know. To me, I haven't played a lot of the first one. It's something I mean to get to because what I've seen of it I have really enjoyed.
Deadly Premonition, the first one, is just a perfect storm of strange.
Yeah.
Because the frame rate is awful. It's a PS3 game, but it looks like a PS2 game. The sound mixing is abysmal. Like, the sound effects and the music drown out the characters talking. The characters are fucking weird. It's very, very clearly a rip-off of Twin Peaks, but when people confronted Swery about this, he pretended that he didn't know what Twin Peaks was.
He didn't know what? Are you serious?
He was like, well, I don't know if he pretended that he didn't know what it was, but he was like, huh, Twin Peaks? No, I haven't seen that. I don't know what you mean. Yeah.
Very good.
It's like even the subtle things, like the way that the characters move. Do you remember Metal Gear Solid 1, Lee? And how the characters in that game, since they didn't have detailed facial animations, would gesture in flamboyant ways, like Liquid would point at the sky, or they would gesticulate wildly in order to compensate for the lack of facial animation. In Deadly Premonition they do that as well. People pose and gesticulate wildly in Deadly Premonition as well, despite the fact that it's a PS3 game where they should know better. You'll have cutscenes where characters are talking to one another and you can barely hear them because of the music, and in the background of certain shots you can see huge collectibles just rotating and floating.
Oh yeah, of course. That's old school. Gotta love that.
And from what I understand, Deadly Premonition 2 seems to be continuing the trend, which is good to see. Oh, and the fucking map in that game, the world map, its orientation changes depending on what direction you're facing. So it's a real pain in the ass to navigate around that world. There's no north, south, east, and west. If you're facing one direction, that becomes the new north on that map.
What? That's amazing. Anyway, what I've enjoyed so far of it is that Francis York Morgan is now riding around on a skateboard, and to be honest, that's everything I really wanted from the sequel.
Okay, I know the clip that you're talking about, but did you hear the sound mixing?
Yeah.
Like, he's talking to himself in, like, characteristic fashion, of course, but you can barely hear what he's saying, and the subtitles are mandatory because the sound of the skateboard on tarmac is so deafening that it's drowning out his dialogue.
This is what we call the Sonic Adventure 2 mixing, where everybody remembers fondly the opening cinematic of Sonic jumping down onto the skateboard in the modeled San Francisco and skating down to whatever you call it, Escape from the City, the classic, the iconic. What they don't remember is that in the mixing of the game, they can't even hear the fucking song because the screeching of the metal of the skateboard on the tarmac is so high that nothing else registers. And I'm glad to see that tradition continue in games that look like they were made for the Dreamcast.
That's about it as far as news is concerned that I can think of the top of my head. You got any more left in your bag of tricks?
God, no.
Alright, well, we can get on with our weeks then.
Hell yeah. What you got for me?
I've got two things, actually. Now, I've been bogged down a little bit with what with work and university obligations, so I needed something quick. I needed something quick and dirty that I can get out of my way within a week's time. And I had something in my back catalogue that had been sitting there for a while that I'd meaning to get around to. Have you ever heard of Full Throttle?
Yeah, the old LucasArts game?
That's right, the LucasArts point-and-click game. There was a remastered version by Double Fine that I had for some time now. And you know what? I've played, I played Grim Fandango, which I think is still my favourite one because of all the character it's got going. But I was like, these guys had a reputation for putting out good stuff, so, I'll dip back in to play a little bit of Full Throttle.
Right. What'd you think? I've never played it, just for... I guess put that out there. I have played Grim Fandango. I haven't beat it. It's one of those ones I've definitely meant I picked up at a bad time and didn't get around to really giving it its fair shake, but I was enjoying it. And other than that, the only LucasArts game I played was Secret of Monkey Island 2. Again, I got quite far into it and then got stuck. That was my fault. That really wasn't the game's fault. I really wasn't paying attention. And again, this was at its worst because it was the remake and it was on PS3 and I was hunting them crystal lizards like nothing else, so I was all over the fucking place and ruining games.
Those were dark days.
Ruining games that had no right to have trophies in them. But yes, so what's your feelings on Full Throttle? Did you get it finished? I hear it's a pretty short game.
I did finish it, yes. It is pretty short, which is why I felt comfortable, diving in to have it ready for this week. This was LucasArts' first post-Monkey Island adventure game.
Right.
It has the you can really see the DNA for Brutal Legend in this one, because this was the first one I think that Tim Schafer really took complete creative control behind. And there's a lot of they had an actual rock band record music and got them to license it for this game. It's got the biker aesthetic with all the the leather jackets and the exhaust pipes and the heavy metal things going on. You can really see the Brutal Legend DNA. No, sorry, the genetics.
That's our word.
The genetics. It is after all a LucasArts adventure game, so I had a guide handy because there's going to be some bullshit. There's always some bullshit.
Absolutely.
Where you need to get through a minefield by collecting a bunch of wind up battery powered rabbits that you can use to scatter across a minefield, and they'll detonate all the mines, and that's how you get past the minefield. And it's like, oh yeah, of course. Silly me. How did I not figure that out to begin with? Classic. Have a guide handy.
Full Throttle, it got remade pretty recently, I assume, or in the last couple of years. I assume that's the version you're playing. Did it have the ability to toggle to its ugly graphics?
Oh, no, it's the original graphics. Just rezzed up. There is no remastered, redone graphics. It isn't like Day of the Tentacle.
Right, okay, wow.
It's plagued by bugs, visual bugs, so that I'll walk into a new map and sprites from a completely different scene are just there. Several different sprites from an animation. Jesus. So it'll be like a time-lapse Gold Experience Requiem where it's going through the animation, all the frames just spread across the screen. I'm like, oh, that shouldn't be there. You'd think they would have fixed that by now, considering how long it's been out, but hey, old games, what can I say? Voice acting's great. Mark Hamill's in it. That's cool. The music is pretty good. I have to say, the animation it's got a nice aesthetic that's held up well. I mean, obviously they've remastered it, so it's held up well, but it's all like 2D animated, like with actual like cartoons. It's not like pixelated sprites. Supposedly Tim Schafer had some trouble pitching this one because he was reading Hunter S. Thompson's book series about the Hells Angels.
Right.
And he tried to propose it, and the higher-ups at LucasArts were like, no way. Especially there's a peyote scene where he gets high and shit. It's like, we can't believe that we're paying you to write this. This is garbage. You're going to have to throw this out. And he had to cut a whole bunch of stuff out. Like, game development, man, you know, it's a thankless task, but someone's got to do it. No one's going to thank you until 10 years later when they're making the retrospective documentary on IGN.
Was it funny? Did you laugh at all?
It was, I never laughed out loud, but like, it's charming, and that's where you've got a smile on your face basically every time. It's always good with the zingers. I thought Grim Fandango was funnier.
Yeah.
Grim Fandango had like a moment where Manny Calavera walks into like some kind of dive bar, and everyone in that game is a skeleton because it's Dia de los Muertos and all that. And there's a bunch of beatniks sitting in the corner talking about like socialism and shit, and he goes, hey, look, deadbeats. Nice. That's the stuff. That's the writing that I want. Or whenever you try to make him do something that he doesn't want to do, he goes, sorry man, I'm not in that union. And like, that's charming. I like you, Manny. Yeah. The guy in this one, which is Ben, the biker guy, he's more of taciturn. He's more of a sort of, yeah, I'm not doing that. Nope. Not happening. I'm not putting my lips anywhere near that for the talk option. There's a director's commentary for that game, and it's short enough where I'm actually considering, you know what, I'll stick the commentary on. Maybe have Tim Schafer talk to me about the back-to-the-scene stuff as I go through the game. Yeah, that'll be a nice day. I'll set a day aside for that. That sounds like it'll be a good time.
You know, the commentary on games thing, it is uncommon, but it's something I've always found interesting but have never bothered to do. Valve
do it a lot, and it's very interesting in the Portal games in particular, because the Portal games are so, like, the amount of playtesting that Valve does is psychotic, and it really, really pays off, because, like, they'll have it's really insightful. Like, Portal 1 in particular, they'll be like, you know, you'll have Gabe Newell saying something to the effect of, we needed to really put, like, a light spot on this one particular area, because players kept looking at it and then turning around and going in the opposite direction when we needed to hold their attention in order to see the pre-scripted event take place. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. That's interesting. You know, tell me more about... It's just really helpful, like, level design.
Yeah, insight.
And trying to hold the player's attention and, like, user experience, and trying to try out confusing mechanics that didn't really work out, and I had to take that out. It's fascinating stuff. I really recommend it.
Yeah, I mean, Portal, you know, I've actually been wanting an excuse to just play through the 2 Portal games again, so that's probably how I should do it, because then I'll get a little extra out of it than sort of reiterating puzzles that I will probably half remember. I've been trying to leave it long enough to go back to.
Oh, sorry, one last thing about Full Throttle. It has a combat system where it's like a bicycle-to-bicycle combat.
Yes.
On motorbikes. It's fucking awful. It's really, really bad.
I've heard.
So bad, in fact, that in the menu option, there is a button that you can hit to just skip them.
Oh my god.
Which is a very, very telling. I imagine that was in the remaster. That wasn't in the original.
Yeah, I can imagine it. Sure. So you gave them a shot. Did you end up turning them off?
No, it was short. It happened infrequently enough where I didn't have too much trouble, but only because I had the guide handy. If I didn't have the guide handy, I would be sorely tempted to go, you know, fuck this. This is awful. No way. That's not why I'm here. And just skip straight ahead. Anyway, Full Throttle was not the only thing I played this week.
All right. You purposely picked Full Throttle to cram into your week. So I'm a little intrigued as to what you would push on top of that.
No, I didn't finish this. I'm only about a third of the way through it. But I would like you to do something for me, Lee. I would like you to cast your mind back 10 years to those halcyon days, those times of innocence. I want you to see if you can recall SRB2, Sonic Robo Blast 2.
Of course.
Sonic Robo Blast 2 has come leaps and bounds in the last 10 years. Probably a lot of people out there who don't know what Sonic Robo Blast 2 is. Sonic Robo Blast 2 is a total conversion mod for Doom. That is a Sonic the Hedgehog fan game, Sonic the Hedgehog has got quite a few fan games. Sega like to encourage this sort of thing, and in the case of Sonic Mania, it bore fruit. SRB2 has been in development for the better part of 15 years, more, I think.
It's a big runner. Sonic fan games, they have a annual sort of online meetup competition showcase thing each year called Sage, I believe.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Freedom Planet had its genetics in Sage as well, I think.
That's right. I assume shit has happened?
Yes, shit has happened, and it is now the levels are twice the size. There's twice as many levels. There's like all sorts of new shit in there. There's like a kart game. There's like an SRB2 kart that's just Mario Kart, but with like more modability. They've got all the Sonic and all the Sega characters like modded in there, and you can get all sorts of other characters in there as well. Like there's like you know if you're old school like me, you call them WADs,
of course,
because it's a Doom mod. You got to get the WADs in there. The where's all the data .wad.
Is that what that stands for?
That's what that stands for. That's from the id Software.
I just always assumed it was like they were going for WAD, like a spit wad or something, and it was kind of like gluing something in.
That's a very PG way to interpret that. But you can have like. There's this whole YouTube video movement, if that's the right word. There's like a wave of YouTube videos coming out that are just SRB2 kart fail compilations or like funny clip compilations that are highly edited, and they're fantastic. They're like meme central. They're great. Yeah, I'll probably link you a couple later on. 100%. They're fantastic. You can play as like the Dragon of Dojima himself, Kiryu, in like in a tiny kart that's completely undersized for him. And there's like hundreds and hundreds of like maps for the kart game.
Jesus
There's
Christ.
Online play. SRB2 has gone places since we last picked it up, which is fair enough because that was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, 100%. Although it's weird. It's one of those things I played in like a daze for what must have been 2 or 3 weeks. Just picking it up.
It was a hazy summer memory. That's all it is.
I actually remember it very close to Christmas because I stayed up one Christmas Eve to play it, and I ended up not sleeping that night because the soundtrack in it, which is really fucking good.
Oh yeah, it's popping. It's a great soundtrack. I couldn't
get some of the tunes out of my head for the rest of the night.
No, the multiplayer is there, and it's still good. The connectivity, I maybe it's netcode, I don't know, is still shit, so you will get lag. But hey, nobody's perfect. It's still bang for your buck, considering it's exactly £0 to play.
I don't know what I expected you to bring up this week, but Sonic Robo Blast 2 was not it.
No way. I might finish it next week. I'm not going to make promises. I've learned my lesson. I'm not making promises by finishing games.
Fucking awesome. I'm absolutely going to pick that up and check it out again myself. I can't even imagine... There was something about the narrow level design of Sonic Robo Blast 2 that I was always kind of enamored with. So I'm not entirely sure how to feel about it being blown out.
The levels are fucking massive.
See, that's what I mean. Like
I'm in complete fucking awe at the size of these things. It's stupid. It's witchcraft how they managed to do that.
Anyway, yeah, I really look forward to playing that again. I have no idea what to feel about a fucking kart racer in it, but I mean, I'll definitely give that shit a shot. Why not? I played 16 games this week.
Oh boy.
And
oh no.
And there's a bit of a narrative to it, so I'm going to try and present it in narrative version, I guess.
A recurring theme. Besides, self-flagellation, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I don't have an angle of discussion this week. And this time, I literally am going to try and piece together my week so that you understand where the fuck how I ended up with 16 games on my list. But the first one is a side thing because it's not actually a part of the other 15 and their reasoning for why I played them. And that is Danganronpa.
Ah, Danganronpa. Yes, with the teddy bear and the murders and the accusations and the whatnot.
Yes, it's like Ace Attorney meets the daytime mechanics of Persona. What a weird fucking game. I'm really enjoying it. I started this week with an angle to play something on the Vita because I still wanted to chill out and have a handheld game, Persona from last week didn't work out. I was just looking up and down the menu to see what I already had installed on the thing, and it turns out I had Danganronpa installed at some point a long time ago.
Okay.
And I think I did play a little bit of it. I think this was before I played Persona, so I think, and also before I played Ace Attorney. So I was diving into something that I would fear for people if they have never been exposed to those kind of games before, trying to get their head around. Mm-hmm. It's good. It's what I liked about Persona and what I was trying to talk about last week, and what I didn't like about Persona 1, in that the localization is spectacular. Danganronpa often has it works on you get a cast of like 15 archetypes, kind of traditional horror movie fare. Mm-hmm. And they're all sort of conspiring, some horny teenagers all trapped in one location. It's classic stuff.
Yeah.
But what it does with those archetypes is it keeps making them creepy, where the threat of the game and the world is literally the people around you. And you have no reason to not suspect every single one of them of potentially trying to fuck you over.
Is it like a whodunit?
A little bit, yeah. So the general premise of it is that you are chosen as the most average boy in the world in Japan or whatever. You go to this school that only picks the elite of any particular field.
All the athletes, all the nerds, all the whatnot.
Yeah, and your character is the ultimate lucky person because they win the golden ticket raffle to also go to the school. General premise is, anyway, you go to the school, there's an evil bear behind it. They're all trapped in the school, they can't see the world, and the only way of getting out of the school, you have to kill someone that's also there and get away with it. And the trial is where they decide whether they've gotten away with it. Mm-hmm. So if you don't catch them with the evidence, and you don't sort of play the mini game involved and pick the right person, they get scot-free, and the consequence is not only they get out, but everybody in the school gets killed.
Neat.
It's a visual novel like Phoenix Wright, in that there's no alternate ending where somebody's just not involved in the story anymore. You know, you either win the case or you lose the game and have to reload your save. But I mean, it's good if you like Phoenix Wright. I'm a big fan of Phoenix Wright. You introduced me to Phoenix Wright in the end.
After a great deal of bullying and peer pressure, and it feels like a decade of poking. Let me know once you've beaten all 3, because I have an interesting bit of homework that would be pertinent to this.
Alright, cool. Anyway, Danganronpa, it scratches both itches, I guess. I like the day sim side of things. I like the court case side of things. I think the world's interesting. I think it's genuinely twisty enough where I don't really know what's going on. So I am invested to see how the fuck they're going to get out of it. If that's a thing that happens, I'm really not sure. It could literally be the kind of thing where nobody really gets out. I'd say that the one thing I don't really like about it is, in the court case, they've got this kind of gun motif where you have to shoot the accusations that don't line up. And I actually like that part of it, but the final minigame is like a rhythm game, and it's way fucking out of place. Like, it's not... Okay. And I think what was worse is that it made a bad impression, because the rules were way more complicated in explanation than the game itself, which was literally to just keep tapping X in time and then occasionally tap triangle. And I assume apparently it gets a little more complicated as it goes along, but it had like 6 pages of, and here's what you do, and you want to dispel certain words from others, and you don't. You just hit X, and then you press triangle to clear the screen. I failed it, and what was the worst thing about it is that you can't, you're no save in the court side of things. So if you blow it on this minigame, you go right back to the start of the fucking trial. And man, sure, you can blast through that shit now that you know all the answers, but it's still tedious. It gave me another shot at it after I failed, so I didn't fail it the second time when I stopped overthinking it, but it was so poorly explained, and I went online and a lot of people there were forums on Steam and all saying, am I really stupid, or is this really fucking contrived? And it's explained itself poorly. And people were like, yeah, it has.
Yeah, Danganronpa it's been on my radar for some time. It and its sequels and its spin-offs.
It's got an anime series now as well, so it's kind of it must be doing something right.
Yeah, it's I might pick it up on my new Nintendo 3DS at some point in the future. The new Nintendo 3DS has quickly become my visual novel machine that I use for visual novels. Like, it's got Ace Attorney on there, your Professor Layton's, I've got Hotel Dusk on there. I've been meaning to play that for some time now. My new Nintendo 3DS is currently being held hostage by Bravely Default, a massive angry discussion that I will no doubt get into multiple times over the course of this podcast, so don't worry, there'll be plenty of time for that.
I cannot believe you're still playing, held captive to Bravely Default.
I'm right at the very end. I could finish it at any moment, but I don't want to. But I'll get around to it at some point. It'll happen.
My week then, here's where the narrative really picks up. Because Danganronpa was what I had planned to do on a less action-packed timeline. But then I decided to look to the homework. I got set homework last week.
The homework that I was reluctant to
even give me,
assign to you because I felt it was too substantial to expect somebody to reasonably do. But no, you were like, no, give me that homework, I want to do it. Because presumably, if I were to guess, you've been meaning to do it for some time and you needed the external pressure to really push you into it. Yeah, I thought so.
Well, guess what?
What?
I have finished Neuromancer.
Hooray! You can check that off the 1001 books to read before you die.
Yep, I'm up to 46. Boy.
You've gone from one prison of crystal lizards to another, I think.
Yeah, everybody needs crystal lizards to some extent. So I listened to an audiobook version of it. It was about 8 hours long, which, I mean, is a godsend, because that book would easily have taken me months to finish. I am a very slow reader, and I am especially slow at reading sort of twisty modernist pieces where the timeline and the reality and space that we're in is always up for question.
Yeah, Gibson. One thing I really do quite like about Gibson, although admittedly it is a bit of a barrier for some people, in that he'll say a sentence that will make complete sense in the universe in which it's being said. Mm-hmm. But you can only speculate as a reader as to what it means. Yeah,
especially in Neuromancer, a lot of the details, they'll give you like a cool code name or just a sort of entity or object in this world. They'll say stuff like ice, or they'll say like a couple of corporation names like Sanyo or something like that.
Oh yeah, how's biz? And you can like, oh well, that must mean business or something. But they'll be like, yeah, I'm cracking the ice on it now. And if you're a real cyberpunk aficionado, you can probably guess what that means. But this is the book that started it all.
Yeah, which is immensely impressive. Overwhelmingly so.
To quote Penny Arcade, this was a book that was written for the people of the future in their own goddamn language.
Yeah, exactly. That really is it. It's a hell of a fucking book. It's got that like Joycean displacement thing that goes on, and I've read a lot of books like that. And I really like that kind of that old modernist style of kind of what did they teach me in school to call it? Give me the term. There it is. Got it. Stream of consciousness.
Oh yeah. It's real sort of. It's Case's monologue, and he's an unreliable narrator. But hey, that's the way it is in this bitch of an earth.
Yeah, exactly. Not only is he spends half of his time drugged up, and the other half in a cyberspace world where the scenario and his own mentality shifts per the scene. Which, to be clear, makes for very disorienting fucking audiobook listening.
Oh, yeah, that was one concern I had, which was when you said you were going to listen to the audiobook, which is, if you're reading it, and you just finished a paragraph, and there's parts of it that you had difficulty parsing, you can just reread the paragraph, cast your eyes back over it and go, huh, okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. But if it's an audiobook, and like the moment that that moment passes and you're like, huh, wait, what did he mean by that? It's already on to like the next paragraph, so it can be a bit disorientating.
Exactly. And I think there's a pro and a con for this. The pro of the audiobook, there's a couple of pros, but the biggest pro, I think, is that having it sort of read to you in a blur almost encapsulates the experience better.
It's more immersive.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's how it's supposed to really feel reading it, I suppose. You know, like, the characters all feel like that. You know, like, emotion-wise, that's exactly the effect it's going for. And while this shit, the characters who are more immersed in it taking their stride, you as a reader are supposed to be kind of reeling a little bit from just how fucking ahead of its time this shit is. And how
characters talk to each other in, like, you know, they use the lingo that people in their profession use, and you just have to just go, well, you know, you have to infer from future events and past events and context as to what that lingo could mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you as the reader are officially not plugged in. Everybody else is, and when things happen that disorient the characters, they don't give a shit. Like, Case is often put into positions where there's characters who have made what would otherwise be traumatic reveals, and he basically just wants to know what the fuck he should give a shit about in each of those. He really just wants to get to the fucking meat of it and get the job done and go home.
It's so hard-boiled. I love it. There's so many great lines in that book. Like, I feel like one scene that always sticks out to me is that, you know, he sees a phone ringing in the middle of the street. He picks it up. It's Wintermute. He slams it shut. He runs away, and all the payphones in the street are, like, ringing because it still wants to talk to him. He doesn't want anything to do with it. Just, so cool. You know, he talks about how his nervous system is completely fucked because he screwed over a previous employer, and they wanted to make sure that he could never use, you know, the Matrix ever again, which here means the internet, essentially, before the internet. And they say something to the effect of he went to, like, the best black clinics that they offer, and all they could do was look him up and down and admired the extent of which he had been ruined, and slowly but sadly shake their heads. And I'm like, oh, that's a great line. This is such a good book.
The obvious con for the audiobook version is that, yes, as you said, you kind of don't get the chance to go back. But also, you can miss something so minuscule chapters earlier that still there was a whole character whose name I think was Peter Riviera.
Yeah, I know the guy.
Who I confused with a wholly different character. I confused him with Flatline, who is a construct in this world, a sort of
the Dixie Flatline,
the living remnants of a personality brought back to life, and also Case's old mentor. And
these are things that you just have to kind of infer from the way that they talk to each other.
Yeah, they don't give you this shit.
They do this. Gibson is, at least in the Sprawl trilogy, of which Neuromancer is the first installment, he does not shoot straight with you. You just have to interpret the way that these people talk and think, and use that to, like, just infer the backstory. It's so cool. You feel so smart reading it.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because the movie Blade Runner almost prevented this book from being made. This book.
Really? Why?
Because
why
so? Halfway through the writing of Neuromancer, William Gibson went to see Blade Runner, and he stumbled out of that movie in a complete daze. In, like, you know, he was pulling his hair out, he was crying, he stumbled home because, like, the creative vision of that movie was basically exactly the same as in this book, and he was like, I'm ruined. They'll say I'm a hack. I'm completely fucked, but you know what? He pulled together the wherewithal to finish the book, and guess what? It's still a great book. It's so influential, even with Blade Runner.
There's not a lot there. He does describe great things like pyramids and shit like that sound exactly like how they look in Blade Runner, but I mean, I've also read Do Androids Dream Electric Sheep, and the sort of the actual narrative of that plot is far more Blade Runner. Nothing's quite anything here. All three of these things are very distinct and all quite good stories. I think Neuromancer is easily the densest of the lot. It has just got so much shit going on. You could read it over and over again and still not pick up on everything. So on that sort of grounds, if people like that kind of shit, it's pretty good. I'm glad I read it, just because there are so many influential terms that have stood the test of time, that have not only just as concepts in themselves that people all like talk about, but you'll have already experienced half of them permeated into every science fiction film for the last 30 years.
I think cyberspace was a phrase that was invented in this novel.
Yes, that's right.
And it also has another phrase that, a concept that I'm very fond of saying, which is meat space, which is real life. Meat space, sex and drugs, that's a meat toy. Case partakes every once in a while, but that's a meat thing. He's a cyberspace kind of guy.
So my experience with the audiobook was fairly positive, if a bit mixed, but I can tell you the experience of trying to listen to it was a hard one.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And here's the thing, right? Because when I listen to an audiobook, I tend to have something else going on. The best scenario.
Not with this one, boy.
Yeah.
Not with this novel.
Anyway, I had a lot of things going on. This is where the 15 other games come in. Because I was trying to find something that I could just play mindlessly. You see, here's the thing. My favorite thing listening to audiobooks, and probably explains why I haven't in a little while, is because I used to listen to them at my office jobs or desk jobs. I've had a number of those over the years, and each time I'm in them, I love to listen to an audiobook while doing the sort of mindless work they expect of you. As of this year, the work I've been doing is a lot more frantic. There's not a lot of room for fucking audiobooks. Now that I'm where I'm at now, and the work is sort of ethereal and not really existent, there's nothing for me to just mindlessly work away on. I was like, I need to fill that void. And fill I did with 15 disparate experiences that I only, by the closing chapter of Neuromancer, found the one thing that actually worked. That didn't distract, didn't have me sink so much focus into the game that I was now expertly ignoring the book in sections, which is something you cannot do with Neuromancer, because every time you blank out 2 sentences, you've missed an entire concept that will be later iterated upon and dragged up for the rest of the novel. So here, in order, I believe, of how and when I played them, are the 15 games I attempted to distract myself with.
Alright, lay it on us. Come on.
Number 1, Sonic Lost World. This is a game that came out on the Wii U. It's on PC. I've had it for a while. I tried to play it before. It's not very good. I wanted to try it again this time because knowing that it's not very good, I wanted to see if at some point it would click with me, if it was my fault that I wasn't getting on board with this weird take on Sonic gameplay. It wasn't. It just doesn't work. It's just not a game that works. It's just...
Yeah, and the villains in that game look like they're from a completely different franchise.
Yeah.
They look like Mario villains.
Yeah, the whole thing is a weird Mario take on Sonic games, with its fucking floating galaxy type worlds, which they try to iterate on with these sort of half-shell, the things that play into sort of the original art and aesthetic of Sonic games rather than the gameplay itself. It doesn't work. It doesn't work in 3D. It's not exciting or thrilling or fun to play in these half pipes. The movement of Sonic, I think, in this game, which they strip back and give you a button to walk, and then if you press a button, you essentially accelerate like a car. That actually kind of does work, but all the other systems, like a parkour system and the way you interact with enemies in sort of chains, it's all a mess. It's like not all of these things go together. The typical Sonic Team approach of too many ideas to fucking make a game work.
Yeah, pick a mechanic and develop it.
Exactly. Game number 2 is Dragonball Fighterz.
Hey!
This is my reaction to sucking so very bad at King of Fighters. And we kind of slagged BlazBlue, but System Arc Works, they had made a game that I played and really enjoyed because it's super accessible and it's designed for accessibility. And that's Dragonball Fighterz, which is still a grand old time.
We spent basically an entire evening cracking away at it, and That's a grand old time. That's a gag. That's a good old game right there.
This week I played it on PC as I've had it before. I've had a problem. My PC isn't really good enough to run it, which was a problem I had when we were playing. Also, my Bluetooth thing is terrible, so my controller, when the game freezes up, my controller cuts out. It was an awful experience to play it on PC, but I got it on sale on the PS4 this week, and now it's on a console that I can actually run it. So I was playing the story mode of that this week. Story's really good. It's really well produced. It's got it's got all the fucking voice acting, the fucking emotions of the characters are exactly like the cartoon. 100% recommended, and I'm slowly but surely trying to get better at it. It's a very simple game in principle, and like all fighting games, the roof is so fucking high.
Who's your main? Is it Goku? Or is it Goku? Or is it Goku? Or is it perchance Goku?
So far it's Goku.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
respectable.
I'm actually kind of moving into Vegeta. But is it Vegeta? Or is it Vegeta? Or is it Vegeta?
Or is it Vegeta? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about those two characters is that they're the easiest to play. They're very much the Marios of this
Ken and
game.
Ryu.
Yeah, Ken and Ryu is probably the smartest. But in Smash Bros. Term, which I do understand, they're very much like Mario. It is about one trick move, and everything else is very simple, and makes sense given the tutorial. Where from there, every other character plays slightly differently. Yeah, it's pretty good. Why try harder than the first character they give you in the game?
Well, I look forward to, once we're allowed out of our homes, the planets aligned on Saturday and all that, and the old ones rose from the ocean. But once all that's been dealt with, I look forward to coming over your place and giving you, just a good old session of Dragonball Fighterz.
Yeah, good old ass whooping. Game number 3. You know what? Actually,
I better get comfortable.
I miscounted anyway because I forgot, and I'll jam it in here while we're on the non-subject. Dark Souls Cubbyhole.
Hey.
How
is that coming?
I didn't actually count that in my total, but it's.
Oh Jesus!
Exactly. That's how bad this is. I played a little bit. What I did this week was start over.
Oh, things weren't that bad, surely.
They were pretty bad. I felt like the character that I had built, and though I really had sank quite a lot of numbers into things that I was never going to use.
Oh, you didn't put it into like wisdom or something, did you?
That's what I mean. Like it was a very balanced spread. It was a mess. It's just not how you're supposed to play it.
Christ.
Learned lesson. We had our discussion last week that helped place how to move forward. This time I built myself as a scimitar wielding sort of more energetic fellow. And
more dexterity based.
Yeah, exactly. Which was what I was putting stuff into anyway. I confirmed which weapon I should be sinking my points into, or which stat there this time, and have basically all but caught up on myself.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I'm at the bridge. I'm at the Dragon Bridge again. So that's going to be good. I'm going to keep working away at that. I'm enjoying it still. I enjoyed it enough that I'm like, obviously I started again and blew through where I was, and I'm happy enough of that. But that's it. There's not much else in Dark Souls Cubbyhole this week. Just a refresh, restart. Hopefully next week, fresh entertainment or absence from the show.
You will have found a new host of problems to worry about.
Exactly. All right, game number whatever. Nuclear Throne.
Oh, it's like a roguelite, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, this is by I think it's Flambeer who made it. Who also made Super Crate Box. Is that what it's called? You ever play that?
I have no idea. I'm looking it up now. Nuclear Throne.
Luftrausers. Yeah.
Oh, Luftrausers. I tried to play that. That's like a sort of pseudo World War II shmup, isn't it?
Yeah. It's very arcadey. They specialize in these arcade games.
I tried to get that working, but Steam wouldn't launch it correctly, and I gave up.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it's a really fun game. I've sank a lot of time into Luftrausers and Super Crate Box, which is a very, very simple game of you have guns in boxes and you must survive a little wave of hordes. Each of these have been fun little games. Nuclear Throne is their gun. There's sort of a mix between Super Crate Boy and Binding of Isaac. Mm-hmm. It's fun. I've enjoyed it, what I played so far. But here comes the final give in the following games. They are too distracting to listen to Neuromancer to play. Nuclear Throne, pretty engaging. In fact, of all the itch.io games that I'm about to list here that I've went to for their arcadiness, it's the one I haven't I'm not done with. I haven't uninstalled, which is a slight tell to the quality of everything else.
Yeah. I was sort of hoping, man, 16 games. How much time have we got here? Some of this had better be shovelware, I swear to God.
Oh yeah, and it is. And starting now with Sky Rogue is a cel-shaded flight shoot-'em game with a rocket jet fighter kind of thing. It looks very pretty. That's about it. It didn't hold my attention for any...
It's got a nice, like a vector graphics thing going on.
Yeah, exactly. It's a cool aesthetic, and that's really about it. It's not like it was unpleasant to play. It was quite smooth. It just, it didn't hold my... It was like all the kind of mini games I played in other games that have these little flight sections. I've never been a big fan of them. One of my more positive experiences from itch.io was throw bricks into block towers to collapse them. This one actually held my attention without distracting me from the novel to some extent, because it literally was just like a Unity asset thing where you got a big tower of blocks and you could have some sliders on a block, you shot at them, and then you just watched in real time the tower collapse.
Oh, it's more like a physics tech demo.
Yeah, exactly. It was very captivating.
I'm looking at a screenshot of it here, and it's like, oh, this looks cathartic.
Yeah,
in a sort of laid back kind of way.
Exactly. It really is that kind of mindless idle click kind of thing. I recommend it. It cannot possibly be expensive. Further into our bundle we go with Vector 2089, which is a top-down sort of F-Zero game. Kind of F-Zero meets Micro Machines, with real hard-lined vector graphics. Very pretty.
2089?
2089, yep. 1088.
1066, I think, is the running joke. Can't even get that right, Lee.
God damn it.
You know what? I've typed it into the search engine, and it isn't even bringing anything up, so this is obscure.
Yeah, it's cute. It's a real time waster. It made me think, if they had included this as one of the little tiny games that you used to get included with Windows, it would have been a classic for the world to behold. In the modern world, though, I mean, it held my attention for about 40 minutes. And then I found it was actually too boring to listen to an audiobook over it.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. I have a game here called Null Pointer. And now that I'm looking at it, I'm starting to think, what the fuck is that?
Ooh, sorry, I'm looking at some GIFs of Vector 2089. That's cool. That's a nice aesthetic.
That's what I mean. The aesthetic is really pretty about it. I can't remember what this is. I've written it down. Oh, yeah, okay, I remember this. Null Pointer, which is so obscure you can't even Google it without clarifying for itch.
Well, I mean, that's because it's a programming term, which might scupper your search terms a little bit.
Yeah, it's another vector outline-based game. This time it's a first-person shooter, procedurally generated sort of hop and jumpy game in vein of Quake, I guess. Yeah, it was. I really didn't like how the guns felt, and it was understandably repetitive, but it was really repetitive. So no wonder I immediately forgot what the fuck I'm talking about.
Oh, it has a kind of neon grid Metal Gear Solid 1 VR missions aesthetic.
Yeah. Only blown out in 80s colors. Wasn't great. Good potential, I guess. But I didn't really enjoy it that much. And the same goes for the next one, which was called Midnight Ultra.
Okay.
Again, a really cool aesthetic. Glaringly awful to look at for any length of time. It was so harsh. It's got this like super. It's literally like magenta and like a dull white.
Ooh, I'm looking at it now. That looks cool.
It is a beautiful looking thing in screen caps.
Turn down the your monitor brightness, because I can see how that might be eye searing after a couple of hours.
Bright. What was good about it is it came with a palette shifter. That let you pick from like maybe 16 odd palettes.
It's like World of Horror.
It was kind of like a horror themed. I don't know. I guess it kind of reminded me of Hexen a bit. It kind of played like Doom a little. It was okay. Again, the impact of the guns and all wasn't very good, and the enemies took surprisingly long to kill. Ammo was real sparse. It just didn't really feel very fun to play. Still worth looking out for aesthetic alone. It makes for good screenshots. The next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games are
almost halfway there.
These are all old Sega games.
Oh, alright.
I have the Sega Mega Drive collection thing on Steam. I think I have every game on it because they went on sale. And so I was just browsing through the catalog there to try and find arcade games that were just uninvolving enough that I wasn't too focused on them, and I never quite found one. So I played Altered Beast.
Classic. Why Zombie Grave?
Yeah. I
Can't go wrong.
fucking loved Altered Beast as a kid, and playing it now, I can see why people aren't that attached to it.
It is a bit stiff.
It's very stiff. But it's not that it's not of different. Like, once you master the directions of your attacks, you can keep yourself going quite a while. It is of a real fucking coin drainy experience.
Yeah, that's a bit of an artifact from the arcade days.
Yeah.
Even after they stopped making arcade games, or rather, they moved to consoles. Some of that old design mentalities are hard to break.
Mm-hmm. Altered Beast, though, it's still a cool looking fucking concept. Why? I know they revisited badly in the PS2 days with something like a 3D reboot that washed it of all its character, but like with its cool fucking beast, werewolf, and dragon thing, you change. You're this weird, muscly guy. The first level is like a graveyard that kind of looks all Greek. It's a cool fucking look, man. Where the fuck is that? And also, I mean, the classics like "Welcome to Your Doom."
Why from your
in my head over time, I remember loving those voice lines so much that I embellished on them in memory and thought they were far more threatening and cool sounding. But if you listen to them, they're clearly like one of the devs' scratchy, squeaky voice.
Passed through the Sega Mega Drive sound chip.
Yeah. It literally is just a guy who's like, "Rise from your grave."
With a lisp.
Yeah, exactly.
Lisply, come on.
Exactly.
By the way, can I just say as an aside, how awfully cruel it is to name a speech impediment in such a way that a person who has it cannot pronounce it correctly. That is just awful.
Yeah, so I mean, I played it for a while. I found it a little too involving on the second stage, and here this was the final flaw in my plan, because the moment any arcade game got good, it had to be dropped. So,
yeah, that is a pretty critical flaw in your plan.
So this is why I've played so many games and dropped them like fucking hot potatoes. One of the games I played was Gunstar Heroes. I've never played this before.
Oh, yes. I recognize this. I never did play it, but I've seen gameplay of this. Yeah, this looks like a real...
Yeah, I think what was lacking for me here was that it was very clearly a co-op game. Mm-hmm. And playing it alone just felt kind of empty. It's got that kind of... It's kind of like a mesh between Contra and Metal Slug.
Here's why I recognize it. That's a Treasure game right there.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
It's got that Treasure seal of approval. Treasure, who were, I suppose, the platinum of the Mega Drive world.
That's something I wanted to check. Was it Treasure who made that McDonald's game we used to have?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that's a necessarily good game. Yeah, it was very flashy, very exciting. It was fun to play for a level, and then I realized that it should have been played with friends, and stopped. So then I swiftly moved on to an old classic, an old favorite of mine, Biohazard Battle.
Oh, yeah. Love a bit of Biohazard Battle. Down, 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 down. Great soundtrack.
I was amazed to find they had that on Steam, because in my head it was just the most obscure bullshit.
It shocks me that that's on Steam.
Because I remember that was the first game I ever picked out for myself.
Mm-hmm.
There was we were at a fucking secondhand store. We had a Sega Mega Drive, and I picked that one out, and it eventually ended up in your hands. So I assumed we were the only two people on Earth who had ever fucking played it. And it's on Steam. It goes for a relatively low price, and it's still hardly worth checking out for its crazy cool sort of biological aesthetic. It's a shmup. It's got a kicking really soundtrack.
Well. It's a great soundtrack. That is like peak Genesis Mega Drive bass. That dirty bass. It's
really good. Like the world, the aesthetic of it's really cool. It's like war-torn alien planets. The gameplay itself is it's got that gradius thing where it kind of you level up your weapons a little bit and you swap to sort of crazy bullet filling options.
Mm-hmm. The red homing one is the best one.
Yeah, by a country mile. It's still really good. I didn't play a lot of it because I was playing it without sound to listen to the fucking audiobook. What was the fucking point? And
what a disservice.
B, I remember enjoying it more as a multiplayer game. Again, it's a co-op game. So I was it felt kind of lacking to play alone. So had to put that aside. But got to definitely pick up that one again at some point just to see if I can get it a little further in it as an adult.
Did you ever beat that game?
Jesus, no. It's a relentless fucking nightmare of a game.
I did, would you believe?
Whoa.
What ship do you prefer? I was always a fan of like the yellow and purple manta ray. That was my go-to.
Whatever the dolphin-y looking one on the top right.
Yeah.
It might be blue and orange. That was always
I know the one.
That was always my go-to.
Just good to know in case, we ever play it together and we come to fisticuffs over this sort of thing.
Oh yeah, no, that's my weird alien dolphin thing. Fuck you. Yeah, it's also got a weird sea life aesthetic. It's just a cool fucking game, just a great idea that just exists and is out there. And where the fuck is that?
Just a lovely little gem waiting to be discovered on the Mega Drive library.
I played 2 weird games. One called Shadow Dancer. It's kind of like a ninja game. The gimmick, I guess, is that you have a pet dog. It's almost like the first iteration of the AI partner that you control with a button that does some of the fighting for you. Thing that later games would integrate. All done in a weird 2D ninja game.
Ninja Gaiden looking game.
Yeah. It's not very good, especially if you play the Shinobi games on Sega. Those games are very fast, very fluid. You're always flipping around, shooting shurikens and knife stabbing and stuff. Those are fun time. That's a fun time kind of game. Shadow Dancer was quite slow. You kind of hop very weirdly. You have this whole mechanic about grappling with upper floors and lower floors. It takes a second, and then you're all the while carrying this dog who I assume can only be used. Some enemies can only be beaten by the dog. I didn't have a ranged weapon, I don't think. I only had a sword, so I guess the dog was the ranged weapon. But it really incentivized a very slow play, and that I found really boring. Maybe at the time, if it was given its fair due and I had it like as a kid, I would have probably taken like the time to get to know it better and like, oh yeah, I really appreciate the slow build of the Shadow Dancer world. But it wasn't ticking the arcade box that I was looking for. So I moved swiftly on to Crackdown.
Oh, really, huh?
Well,
Terry Crews.
That's right. But apparently this is the Crackdown on Sega, which is a thing, and I'm going to look it up because I actually don't remember what it looks like. I didn't play this for any time at all. It was like, it's like Contra, but top down. I believe there is a Contra that does that, actually. It's like Contra Wars or something.
Contra 4 did top down, and it wasn't very good. Super Contra, I think.
It's not a fun way to play these games, and I found this really sluggish and dull. So I'll move swiftly on to the last of the Sega games, and the second last overall, Ecco the Dolphin, which I played for what must have been 2 hours, banging my fucking head
I mean, I've heard all manner of people say, oh, Ecco's good, you just gotta give it a chance, and, maybe one day I'll sit down with a guide, and, once I get a solid grip on it, I'll probably enjoy it. It's probably just got, a large barrier to the entry.
Sure.
Not today.
Yeah.
Not today.
I have given this game countless tries over the years. This time, I knew a little more what I was in for, I guess, so I knew it was more almost like a dungeon crawler, I guess. Where you're looking for keys to open pathways. And, well, I liked that concept and finally got past the first area this time, which as a kid I had never managed to do. Because it's kind of arbitrary. You have to go to a crystal under the thing and get back to another crystal. And you're supposed to interpret that was by touching that crystal and it putting echoey lines on you. That was a key.
Ah, so that's what that was. I remember that. I remember going, what do I do? What have I done?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I spent half an hour banging my head against the fucking wall. Got to finally see the second level. And that's when I realized that I hate how Ecco the Dolphin plays.
It was at that point that I realized that I might hate this game.
I was kind of willing to put up with it because I thought, well, maybe the levels will get a little wider. And, it'll be more fun to explore. But Ecco is a slippery motherfucker who bangs headlong into every obstacle going. And what makes this weird puzzle game unnecessarily stressful instead of chill is that you have a breath meter. So you have to constantly find air pockets.
Well, he's a mammal after all.
But I know, and I get that, but it's a puzzle game, man. It's fucking stressful.
Hey, do you remember the water levels from Sonic? Weren't they the greatest? Imagine an entire game that's that.
Exactly. And it was just unnecessary, man. I think I'm pretty done with trying to make Ecco work because there are puzzle games that do a similar vibe where they transport you to this world as a weird character and give you vague other objectives out there that don't have a fucking arbitrary arcade timer to stop you from enjoying it.
Might try Myst one of these days.
I was just thinking that literally this week. Maybe this.
Well, Myst is the go-to transporting you to a strange, vaguely defined puzzle area.
I was thinking about doing it this week, but I chose not to on the basis that, well, you want to give the fucking audio a fair shake, right? A lot of these games I played because I thought, well, what's the audio going to do? It's an arcade game, if I knew the soundtrack already, good. If I didn't, yeah. But Myst, it's like you're in a whole different place. Maybe the sounds are used to solve puzzles for all I fucking know.
It's why I was so paranoid about you wearing earphones when you're playing Hollow Knight, because that's half the atmosphere of that game is the soundtrack and the soundscape.
Yeah, exactly. So that brings me to the final game, and the only game that I found that worked perfectly. It was so mindless, yet still entertaining enough that after finishing Neuromancer, I started a new audiobook just so I could keep playing it. That is Mahjong.
Mahjong.
Yep. Fuck me. I realized...
Well, you know what? In the context of this show, it's a bit of a dry choice, but you know what? Hey, I like Mahjong too.
Yeah, I mean...
Everyone likes Mahjong.
They should. If you've never played it, listener, because it looked alien.
Jesus, you weren't kidding about being a little content dry this week, scraping it all a barrel. How long can we talk about Mahjong for? Not long, I don't think.
I can give the context that it was on 30 or 40 odd games in one for Nintendo DS. Classic games, which they've only just
it wasn't like
updated.
It wasn't like Mahjong Crazy Edition with a whole bunch of weird novelty rules.
No, it's a Nintendo DS game, which made it all the better to play because actually dragging the little tiles or clicking the tiles with your stylus, it's actually made me realize that I missed the stylus on the Switch.
Yeah.
I have the a couple of games that kind of Picross and all on the Switch that I play religiously. And they're really missing something without the stylus.
Does the Switch the Switch has a touchscreen, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
And there's nothing to do but get your grubby, disgusting human fingers all over it.
Yeah, it's one of those newer the more modern touchscreen where a stylus actually doesn't register anymore. And that really drags me down a bit now after playing Ace Attorney on DS. And
you want to get like that, that tap.
Yeah, there's a real catharsis to clicking the right answer and being like, fuck you, like, you're done. Objection, motherfucker. And you're like, when you click it with a little bit of force on the DS, you're like, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know exactly. Yeah, you do like a theatrical sort of like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You can get real fucking shonen with that shit.
Yeah, that's... that. You've painted a picture in my mind with that description. Like the speed lines, the music, the crazy, yeah.
When you listen, especially when the up-tempo Ace Attorney music starts blasting, and like doo-doo-doo, and you're like, "Fuck you, objection!"
I've got you on the ropes now, bitch.
Exactly. That shit always felt really cathartic, and it was something that has made playing the HD version on the Switch a real drag. Mm-hmm. Is that I'm pretty sure I just play it with the controller. I don't use the touchscreen. I don't really use the Switch touchscreen at all, to be honest, because it's just not very good. It has none of the joy of the DS.
The tactile feedback.
Yeah, there's something just not very satisfying about pressing your pudgy ass finger into a screen to deliver the final blow in a game of Mahjong. But anyway, Mahjong. What a game, right? Uh-huh. An all-time classic, for sure. So thus, 32 all-time classics was the theme of my week, apparently.
I was worried for a moment that you were going to talk about 32, all 32 of them in itemized detail, one after the other, and I'm like, I've got places to be here, Lee.
Have you ever played Backgammon? What a ride!
No, I have. You know what? I have on that game and only on that game.
I've yet to learn how to play it.
Field Tactics was one I quite enjoyed, but I was the only person in my family who ever bothered to learn the rules to it, and so no one else wanted to play me at it because I became, that guy. I became the basement king of Field Tactics.
And apparently you can be that guy for old-timey fucking card games. Well, yeah, that was my week. And that was our show?
It might be, because... do you have homework for this week? Because I kind of do, but I think it might get more of its impact if you finish the third Ace Attorney game before I give it to you.
Boy,
But, I'm not going to assign Ace Attorney 3 to you as homework. No way, that's way too substantial.
Yeah, that's going to take a while. No, I don't think I've got homework for you. None of the games, or... Have you finished Dark?
No, I'm in the last couple of episodes of season 2. Whereabouts are you on that? I know that you and Maria were your wife, your wife, were going to rewatch it at some point.
Yeah, we're now just finished season 1, so we might be able to connect. Maybe not next episode, but the episode after, a sort of season 3 discussion of sorts. Mm-hmm. So I guess my homework for you is 2 weeks away.
Finish Dark, basically?
Yeah.
I think I can, in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
I can get close enough.
Yeah, I can bullshit the end.
I can guess.
Other than that, throw bricks into block towers to collapse them. That's an all-time... That should have been in 42 all-time classics. What a gem.